talk about the most important story in the economy today. Testosterone levels plummeting in young men due to porn consumption as linked to social isolation shows real problem. The Sun. Young men's social isolation and retreat from society are linked to changing norms and discomfort with redefined masculinity. However, studies indicate that plummeting testosterone levels in young men, possibly influenced by excessive porn consumption, may also contribute to their desire to separate from society. Testosterone levels play a crucial role beyond sexual desire, impacting body and facial hair, muscle mass, bone density, fertility, mood, and social anxiety. Excessive consumption of pornography is associated with low reproductive hormone levels in men, which can contribute in reduced testosterone levels and potential social isolation. Natural way to boost testosterone level include improving sleep quality, getting sunlight exposure, and taking vitamin D supplements, consuming omega-3 fish fatty acids, and engaging in strength training exercises. Last night, I had a great time with these guys at Fresh and Fit with Myron. You guys are freaking amazing at what you do. Myron, what do you think about this story? Masturbation, porn, testosterone level. What do you have to say about that?
And before we let him speak his piece, I actually want to add an observation because I noticed, man, my generation is characterized by guys that overindulge in masturbation, pornography, and all these things, and you could see an obvious awkwardness. Like when I go to the gym, I'm a kind of open guy, right? I talk with people, I make friends pretty easily, and I notice that a lot of guys are socially awkward, but much more than you tend to see, right? When you go out into the world, you don't expect most young men to be socially awkward. I got friends that don't go to parties because there are a lot of people. And you might think to yourself, well, I understand you might not like to be in crowds, but to a degree that you don't stick around long enough to get to know people type of stuff because you don't like being around people, right? When I go to the gym and I speak to a lot of guys, because I make, like I said, I make friends with people like that. For one, I can see that a lot of guys want to have the conversations. They want you to pay attention to them. They want you to recognize them, right? They want to talk, but they don't know how to do it. It's a lack of experience, and it's driven, as they said, by the overindulgence in pornography. There's no incentive for your body to want to go out and talk to people because it might be uncomfortable for most people. But if you ejaculate, right, all that driving force that makes you do a lot of things that you do not want to do is out the body. So all you have left, right, is your power of will, which for most people actually isn't that heavy, isn't that strong. And it translates into other parts of your life. Guys having a lot of problems with girls cannot only be resumed by feminism type of shit. You guys don't have any guts though. Like you don't want to go out and talk. And to me, it starts with the fact that a lot of us, since the age of like 14, some guys even younger, have been indulging in pornography, and it affects our dating lives, like sexual performances and stuff like that. And it's time to bring light to it, right? And as they said, the solution, as hard as it may be, is to stop using pornography, which can be exceedingly and extremely difficult, right? To start physically training, to start taking supplements, start exposing yourself to sunlight, to be living a better life and more natural life. And what's crazy is this is just the beginning of your life, man. Like you're dealing with problems that a lot of people did not have to deal with because life is hard enough as it is. Once you get past this, then you have to build. You have to go through the business, whatever it is that you want to chase in life, then you have to start attaining. Now, the good side is what you will go through in order to make it out of that dark place of life where you're busting nuts right on yourselves will also help you. So it'll basically have a snowball effect and it'll help you do better. But this is extremely important.
Yeah, it's a combination of things. And I was actually just writing some notes as you were speaking about it. I would say there's a couple of things that are contributing to this. One is women are more successful now than ever before. So a lot of guys feel like they can't compete or they can't measure up. You got, an influx of pornography that's huge. You can get it for free anywhere, anytime on your phone at the, drop of a hat. Video games, right, become more and more immersive, more and more interactive. They've grown in popularity significantly. It's probably one of the most popular ways of entertainment nowadays. They're beating out movies and television. Then you got obesity, right? Being fat is fairly acceptable in the West nowadays. It's okay to be fat. You also have guys in general that are just lazy thanks to technology and everything else that we have nowadays. People aren't as social. Guys don't feel the need to get out there and get to know women anymore. A lot of guys are socially awkward. This is through the rise of social media. dating apps, etc. There's a lot of guys that have issues, right, where they're good looking guys and they're able to garner attention from women, but they don't know how to speak or convey themselves properly because they don't have the adequate social skills where they've been speaking to people for a good amount of time and learning, certain social cues, how to speak properly, cadence, speaking from an active voice versus a passive voice when speaking to women, because women typically respond very favorably to the active voice versus the passive voice. So all these little things, right, might seem like small little insulated incidents, but if you add them all together, it snowballs and creates kind of what we have, like what they call it the Lost Bar generation. So in general, all of these things play into, and there's more too, but those are just some of the ones I could think off the top of my head.
Tom, from your very insightful, by the way. And if there are two generations here is what we got, right? If we really think about it, porn back in the days when you were 14. Today, what do you know from like your perspective on how bad porn can be for young boys?
Well, first of all, what Myron is talking about social isolation, and we've become a socially isolated society. So I'm going to touch porn last, but I'm going to touch this
touch
first.
Everything, Tom.
Oh, brother, here we
touch
go.
it, Tom.
I said the word, but what he brought up was video games and the internet itself makes us more isolationist for entertainment, and it's immersive and it's distracting, and hours of a session go by. That leads to us being very sedentary, which leads a sedentary life directly leads to like obesity and health issues, and what they're pointing out, not getting out.
And what's funny? What do you think? What do you picture in your mind as a young guy that plays video games? Like either a scrawny little kid with glasses, super unfit, that spends hours on end playing like whatever the case may be, FIFA, Call of Duty type of games, or he's super fat and he's in his mom's basement and he eats Cheetos all day and he doesn't work out. But then these same guys complain about the dating market because it makes you feel good to know that the reason why shit is going bad is not totally your fault, when most of the times it actually is, because you don't partake in habits and lifestyles that'll make you get closer to your end goal. The thing is, a lot of people don't like, for example, as I mentioned earlier, the party type shit. They don't like to go out and be around people, but it's the being around people that helps you become better socialized, right? Like you get more socially calibrated. You can read social cues, know when people are uncomfortable, when people mean something different that they're saying. All these things you learn through being around people, right? Through making mistakes. And like they said, video games ratings are actually beating, the movie industry. Guys spend hours and hours, and the video game companies and consoles are making billions of dollars because now all the ad money that used to go to the movies, since they're not being watched as much, then go to the video games companies, because once again, we live in an attention era. Whoever has the attention of people for a long period of time is gonna get the goal, because other companies can now advertise their services and or products while you're watching the TV. That makes guys prone and people that play video games prone to buy things as well. But that's for another day, right? And so, he's gonna point out we've become disconnected altogether. Like I don't even know my neighbors' names. Like I know my immediate neighbors' names because we had to literally cooperate with one another in terms of the house and shit like that. But people across me, I don't know. People like 2 blocks, 2 houses next to me, I don't know either. And I remember that when I was younger, I used to play with kids down my street, not next to me. I knew all the neighbors in the building, but I knew the kids down the street and the families down the street, which is something we've lost now because of this social media age. So if you don't actively take steps into beating this, right, into fighting this era of secluded living, then you're going to be a victim of it. And everybody's losing, by the way, not just guys, and but everybody literally.
Side for vitamin D and sunlight exposure. And there's a couple of great programs that were like the challenge, like 60-day programs. And part of that program is 60 minutes outside, taking a walk around lunch, brisk walk, getting sunlight. So all of this is coming together. And what Myron just said is dead on. What's happening, on porn that's even worse is it objectifies women and it perfects women. It's like you're objectifying women by what you're looking at, and then you're only looking at like people who are in amazing shape, and so that also creates this false fantasy and leaves men not capable to engage in regular relationships. The other part I look at it, add all of this up, add everything that we up, and look at this. Hey Pat, When you grew up, did you know the names of your neighbors across the street and on either side of you? Yes, you did. So did my mom. So did my dad. Today, I have to proactively go meet my neighbors. People usually don't know their neighbors. And it's because the American society, all of this porn and everything else has made us more isolated people. If you ask someone, how many really close friends do you have? Do you know your neighbor across the street, what their situation is? Do you know your neighbors on the other side of you? Would you trust one of them to take care of your dog if you're out of town? We've also become, I'm interested in what Myron thinks about this, more isolated as a people and a culture. And it's negative.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We've seen the stats out there that men are just becoming weaker. I think testosterone levels have dropped 1% every year since the 1980s. So in the last 40 years or so, testosterone levels have dropped 40%. You've highlighted how men can't even do as much weightlifting they used to before. So look, rather than highlight all the negatives, we can go down a litany of list of what's going on with men. What can you do to basically increase your testosterone? So you can do the natural stuff, get the fuck out of the house, work out, get some sunlight, sleep well, eat well, do what you have to do. There's also testosterone supplements that you can actually take, TRT, this type of things. We've actually had a recent sponsor called Turkesterone that basically helps men increase their testosterone. I think at the end of the day, you have a choice to make as a man. Do you want to kind of go down this feminization of men path, or do you want to man up and become the best version of yourself? And the men, you know, only probably 20% of men are actually going to meet us at that point. And you're right.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No.
Continue.
I mean, that's essentially the end of the day. And if you just basically want to get feminized in this modern femme-centric society, you know, there's plenty of avenues for you for that. But if you want to listen to the right people and have the right people in your ear and have the right coaches and leaders and mentors around you, it is possible to be a man in today's society.
And this is something that I kind of get hit on a lot because, you know, people always say, oh, Myron, you're really critical of women, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, well, you clearly don't watch the daytime show because I'm even more critical of the men.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've said a lot of times is we need to bring bullying back, right? And I know, oh my God, that's so controversial. The reason why I say that is because bullying is a very natural way of letting you know that you're inadequate with your peers, right? And if they tell you, hey, you're fat, or hey, you're a loser, etc. A lot of the self-improvements that I've made, right, throughout my adolescence into my adulthood came from people bullying me. And people say, oh, but it's trauma, it's bad. No, you need that. You need to be smacked in the face sometimes and learn you're not good enough right now. You need to become better. And the thing is, now we have a participation trophy society where just by showing up, you're rewarded. And quite frankly, that's not enough. It's not about just showing up. It's about being consistent and showing up every day and doing it correctly. But we live in this world nowadays where people, quite frankly, are soft, right? When I say things like, stop being, I don't want to swear, right? Because we're in the morning, you know, stop being a pussy, right? They're like, oh, you're misogynistic,
You're toxic,
hater,
bro.
toxic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, men need trauma to grow. They
Pressure builds diamonds, and I wholeheartedly agree with what he just said. For men, we need that overt, direct communication of our inadequacy, because at the end of the day, you're still going to see it, but somebody reinforcing it by saying it to you, your face is going to help you ultimately. And this whole participation trophy kind of era, and encouraging people to accept and live and dwell in their mediocrity, which is really what it is, that whole fat acceptance movement. It's people letting you live in your own shit, basically what it is, right? To me, personal experience, because I've made physical transformation videos, but the point that I haven't actually articulated the most is in that period where I got really fat. It actually was a while, right? From maybe like 5-6 years, I was actually heavily overweight as a young guy. I was constantly being bullied by my older brother's friends because I used to hang with them. They're like 2 to 3 years older than me. And these guys were the meanest motherfuckers on earth, man. Every day used to tell me I was a fat boy, call me Biggie, Sean Kingston, flip my titties and let me know I was fat. And in hindsight, that's what motivated me at one point to just lose the weight. And I was like, fuck it. Enough is enough. And I can't thank them enough because they've instilled a fire in me that led me to lose all the weight in the span of like 5 months. And from then on, it was just like I had that mastery and that confidence in me after having achieved the weight loss. And I think that for a lot of men, what they need is a good old-fashioned kick in the butt. And it doesn't come from any other way than the typical what's labeled as being bullying. But we need that. We need that like we don't even know. And we need to get back to that space. And if you can't have that, you need to create that for yourself. You need to put yourself in an environment where you understand that how you're performing at this very moment is only based upon how you've been influenced and cultured, but you can change that for yourself, right? But you got to listen to the right people. Like, because at the end of the day, we all know, when we hear that comforting talk, that it's not real. So it's about you choosing to unsubscribe from what feels great and choosing to subscribe from what sounds sounds right and what matches reality, right? If that all feel good type of stuff hasn't helped you in the past years, then you got to try something else.
Need it, right? I've always said trauma builds men, but it destroys women. And the reason for that is because by the time you're old enough and you want to actually date a woman, etc., she's looking for those battle scars. She's looking for you to have that experience. She's looking for you to have beaten that adversity. She's looking for you to have made yourself into something. The only way you're going to be made into something is by going through something.
Mhm.
And, quite frankly, we live in a society now where the guys are just soft. So you got all these things working in tandem to, quite frankly, make men weak, right? We have this soft ass society where we're not telling them that they need to actually go out there and achieve and become somebody. And then we also have the video games, the obesity, the mediocrity being socially accepted. Oh, it's okay. You're fine the way that you are. No, it's fucking not okay. The only people that are accepted however they come are women, not men. You must become somebody as a man. And I think that's why our podcast becomes so popular, because we're telling guys they're.
And you know what's funny about what he said about the only people being accepted, because the true statement is women, children, and animals are accepted and loved unconditionally. But even women in this day and age, they long for somebody that has a true point of view that'll tell it as it is, because they don't want to be accepted in any way, shape, or form. A lot of them will gravitate towards this good talk. You're beautiful as you are, but inside people know that they need to strive to be better and that they shouldn't be accepted the way they come. And when you have that talk with a lot of women and you're direct and you let them know about their inadequacies without being an asshole, right? But as you would like somebody to talk to you, tell you the truth, because people respond to truth. And as much as most people actually like to be lied to, a lot of people gravitate towards truth. And I dare to say that even most women want the truth.
There is a burden of performance. You have to go out there and do something. Being fat is unacceptable. Being stupid is unacceptable. Being mediocre is unacceptable. You can't be saved like a woman can for being pretty. You must get out there and become a fucking somebody. But the problem is that we don't bully the guys enough. We don't tell them that they're losers. We don't tell them that they're fat. We don't tell them that they're stupid. We need to go back to letting people know that they're inadequate, and then they'll go ahead and measure up.
It's wild that he's saying this. Somebody could be listening to this and saying, what kind of a freaking message is that? I grew up bullying and this, that. But I will tell you, over the years, running a sales team, I recruit a lot of young men and young women, okay? And we help them become agents. Sheena Sapala, who right now, they do very well for them. So they make a couple million a year, and their business does around 40 million, 30 million a year, okay? She played sports. She played softball. She played softball for college. And she just got inducted to the Hall of Fame of her high school in Sacramento.
Oh,
As
wow.
one of the
Congrats,
best.
Sheena.
Yeah.
Congrats.
And it's crazy. I can sit down with her and give her feedback and challenge her. She takes it. She has no problem. Okay. I can give feedback to guys that are in the military. They can take it. No problem. But if I notice the guys that I have the hardest time with giving feedback, guess what? They never played sports.
Yeah.
And it's so wild. I know the names. Obviously, I will not say it. But God forbid if you give those guys feedback. They're so hurt by it.
Mhm.
That's not the way that works with me. That's not the way that this works for me. I want the feedback to be this way. I don't. Okay, totally fine. There's concepts about being around intimidating, tough environments like this toughens you up. And if you stand up, so I think you got a very good point there. It happens in business all the time, by the way.
Well, Pat, do you guys think it's like happening intentionally, Myron? Like there's a concerted effort. Alpha males, they're trying to get rid of them. Look what happens with Tate and everybody, like people like you. They don't want people like us that are alphas out there. Like it's almost like something is happening to make us soft. Because like, bro,
We gotta stop calling people alpha. It's hella corny. It's hella corny. But I'd say, yeah, traditionally masculine men, guys that have the spine, that know how to direct a family, team, business, association, right? Conglomerate, like people coming together needs leadership, and we need strong leadership. And the characteristics that it takes to be successful in the sports will also translate into business, that will also translate into family leadership. And in order to have that, we must have a culture that reinforces and accepts and pushes us to raise strong boys. And basically, this is what this whole video is about. Well, this whole uproar, this whole Tate red pill is about, is bringing back leadership. And yeah, along the way, we're going to be making mistakes. But I think that, yes, there is a concerted effort. And we've heard this argument multiple times, is like, when wanting to take over and destroy a country nowadays, it's no longer overt. Like, it's not going to be done through warfare, because there are too many damages and it costs too much money. But just like for animals like lions, when a new alpha takes over, what does he do? He eats the cubs of the previous alpha, because they could then they represent a threat to him in the future. You know, once they're big enough, they're going to want to take a spot and be the alpha as well. So all the fighting male cubs, fighting age, or like all the male cubs are going to be killed. And same back in the wars and shit, they used to keep women and children, but all the fighting age males used to be killed because they represent a threat to male leadership. And now whoever is in the shadows, right, pulling the strings, does not want men to be strong, because strong males are always at the forefront of revolutions, right? Throughout history, it's the men that have brought about revolutions, not the women, and they don't want men to do that again. And so they incentivize, they culture people into believing that men are women and women are men, for the betterment, for the long lasting stay in power of whoever is behind this.
If let's just say aliens wanted to come attack, you have to get rid of the strong, virile, crazy, attacking men, because we are getting soft as shit, bro. Like, America's,
absolutely.
it's just because now feelings are more important than anything else. Like you said, I know what people are thinking about the bullying, but you need a little, like, a push.
Mm-hmm.
If I say somebody's morbidly obese, there was a girl that couldn't walk through the aisle in an airplane. That's what she said. Remember we talked about Adam, and she's like, this is discrimination against me.
They should give me an extra seat.
She's like, no, make the planes bigger.
Right.
Like, I want a big, huge, big ass
Victim
plane.
mentality.
So it's like, I feel like, do you feel like, Myra, like, are they doing it? Is there a power that's behind this to make us all really, really soft?
Well, yeah, when you emasculate the men, well, then you can take over.
Mhm.
Because the thing is with men is that, since the beginning of time, me and Andrea have had talks about this. Like, since the beginning of time, men are prepared to fight to defend their belief systems. Women are not, right? There's a reason why they would kill off the men and take the women and the children as prisoners.
Yeah.
And, they're doing that now, but they're doing it much more intelligently, right? And if you look at, and this kind of goes into other things as well. If you look at, now when we have wars with other countries or whatever, we're not going into actual physical confrontation with them like World War II. No, what are we doing? We're doing proxy wars. We're doing right now with Ukraine and Russia, right? We're sending in spies. We're collecting information on other countries. We're getting classified information given to us or whatever, stealing information, stealing secrets. So everything is kind of done surreptitiously now, and destroying the men is also being done right now, because if you destroy the strong men, who's going to question and stop you? Because guys like us ask questions. We talked about this yesterday on our show, and questions are annoying for the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think we've gotten the gist of the video, right? The rest is going to be probably like an extension of what we talked about all the different plagues, different problems that are plaguing the, not only the States, but all of North America and the east of the Western world. And what we got to do basically to fix it, man. If you fuck with the content, you know what to do. Once again, road to 1,000 subscribers. If you fuck with the content, if you got any insight, information, entertainment out of this, you know what to do. I'll see you next time. Peace.